In a world that is filled with filters and masks, we want to give you an unfiltered experience. Welcome to SOTÉ.
Yes, Salt of the Earth podcast, a Christian podcast where we teach you how to apply the Word of God with wisdom into your everyday lives. If you're ready to take off the filters and learn how to be the salt of the earth, stay tuned to SOTÉ. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of
SOTÉ podcast.
SOTÉ.
Guess what?
What?
A star was born today.
Not a start.
And I'm not talking about me.
Wow, because they really would have guessed you,
I mean, I'm a star.
Oh, I thought because of the star on your shirt.
On my...
On
Isn't
your
it a star?
your hat. Your hat.
On my hat? Oh, okay.
There's a star on your hat. But
Anyways.
yeah, I'm the real star today, guys.
Oyi was born today. How many years ago? Like 35 years ago?
Yikes! Not 35.
Oh,
You
18?
just added like 10 years to my life.
Wow. So
I mean, that's more wisdom, I'll take it.
So 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would have given the audience a chance to guess, but
does it mean more
you
wisdom?
spoiled the surprise.
Just because you're older doesn't mean you're wiser, does it?
No, but it's expected of
It's
you.
expected.
So I'm trying to live up to the expectations,
Okay, got it. But anyways, Oyi was born today, so
Yeah.
if you could just wish her a happy birthday. Happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
Oyi.
I mean, by the time it comes out,
Yeah,
it's
but
gonna be late. So I'll be getting messages like at like.
you see, that's people are calling her. She's so important that people are literally calling
You
her.
said a star. You were the one who put it into existence now. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're a star. That's good. But happy birthday, Oyi, from the
you.
SOTÉ family and
Thank you.
and crew. We wish you a happy and wonderful birthday. We hope you have a blessed day filled with joy, peace, harmony, wisdom, and everything.
Thank you. Yeah, fun fact about my birthday. I'm turning 25 on the 25th of March. Yeah, you know how great that's it. It's pretty cool. Now they know what day we filmed, but it's okay.
That's good. So what are we talking about birthdays today?
No, we are actually talking about the tightrope of humility and low self-esteem. So
that's a mouthful.
Now I gotta be humble. So let me.
I mean, you see, that's the thing. So okay, don't let's even start.
I'm not a star anymore.
Yes, I mean,
my star has fallen.
Does humility mean that you can't appreciate when you're good at something and not actually? Because I feel like okay, don't let's start there. let's I mean,
we'll make our way.
I guess we'll make our way there because I mean, just because you're proud of who you are, or like you're proud of what you do, or if you do something excellently well. And then you're proud of that, and then you recognize that I did this well. Does that mean that you're not being humble?
I mean, it reminds me of that verse. I can't remember the exact verse now, but it talks about like let men exalt you, raise you up, then you proclaiming I'm this great person. So to me, I feel like humility is other people speaking of your praises than you.
Got you.
Like just talking about it all the time,
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, not that you're talking about it all the time.
I mean, not talking about, but yeah. So then it's like there's that tightrope. It's like when is it appropriate for me to talk about these things, and then when does it turn into
you just being prideful?
Yeah. And then when does it I just don't even I don't even believe this about myself, so I don't even talk about it. It's not that I'm humble, it's just I just don't even believe it, so I never talk about it.
So that's where the tightrope between humility and low self-esteem starts.
Yeah.
Okay. That's deep. I'll be the one asking the questions today. So I'm just messing with you.
I got a question for you though.
Go ahead.
Okay, how would you define self-esteem to start with, and then how would you define humility? Okay, what is self-esteem, and then what is humility? For those who just don't know, because we're saying the tightrope between humility and low self-esteem. So we got to start with the definition.
Yeah, I think it's good to define terms.
Yeah.
So I would say self-esteem is, your opinion of yourself. So your perspective of how you view yourself.
Yeah.
irrespective of how other people view you. That's how I would define it. Even though sometimes your self esteem can be affected by how people view you.
Yeah,
So
it
if
can.
people say, if all
Yeah.
your life you've been told that you're ugly or you're a loser, then most likely you would also see yourself that way. But self esteem also, I heard this, I guess, quote about self esteem, which stuck by me. And it literally was that, you know, self esteem is you keeping the promises you made to yourself. And so eventually over time, yes, maybe when you're younger, people have like a huge effect on your self-esteem, like what people say to you,
Yeah.
maybe your parents, the people that are close to you. Yeah, it, I guess it hurts or harms your self-esteem.
Yeah.
But eventually I feel like you get to this stage, right, maybe with age,
Yeah.
where you have to now be the one to define that opinion. And that self-esteem is only built when you keep the promises that you've made to yourself. So for example, if you said, okay, well, this year I want to work out, I want to get
Yeah.
a six-pack, or like whatever it is, you envision, or whatever goal you have.
Yeah.
So eventually you find out that the more you begin to keep those promises to yourself, that okay, I'm going to work out, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to be in my word, you just find out that automatically, like, your self-esteem becomes to increase. And then eventually you are even unbothered about how people view you.
Yeah.
Because the most important thing is that you know yourself,
Yeah.
and you recognize your weaknesses, you recognize what you want to work on, and eventually you want to begin to work on those things, and you begin to grow to become the person that you envision. Then your self-esteem also grows, and then it's like, yeah, people could say, oh well, you're a loser or you suck, but I mean, it comes to you, but it just bounces back off because you don't really care about what people say.
Yeah.
And then humility, I would describe as, I was about to say, as being humble.
Yeah.
But I think humility is just, I guess, understanding that, you know, first off, I guess I would say that humility, it takes the spirit of God to even be humble, like to have the humility that we're talking that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I mean, some people have this, I would say, this facade of being humble, but only God sees the heart of every man. Because you could be humble outwardly, but in your heart, you're like, you think you're better than everyone else, or you think that people are below you as human beings. But outwardly, you could pretend to be humble. And so the humility I'm talking about is like the God kind of humility that Jesus embodied, that God himself embodies. I think it takes the grace of God to truly be humble and be willing to serve people. And so I think I'll summarize humility as the willingness to be able to serve even those that you think or society has deemed to be lower than you. Right. So those are the two.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was better than the dictionary.
That was better than it.
I don't want to read the dictionary.
I mean,
the dictionary is like being humble.
Oh yeah, that's so weird though.
Or modest viewpoint.
Oh yeah? The reason why I didn't want to say being humble was because I think there's this. Basic. I don't know. There's this rule in English that when you're asked to define something, you don't define it using the same word. And I was like, I'm pretty sure they were tired. They were like,
we don't know either. We don't know the word. So that's another thing. How can you define humility if you don't know the word of God? So it's hard to define it if you don't even know the source of it. So maybe that was what happened. But self-esteem was a realistic aspect for or favorable impression of oneself, which is kind of like what you were saying.
Just have it.
So my like Oni's definition, I would say self-esteem is like your perspective of yourself. In whatever stage of life that you're in. So, like today, I could be like, wow, I feel so confident. And then tomorrow, I'm like, oh, it's not my birthday anymore, so I'm not confident anymore. Like, it's just, self-esteem is like, it's something that fluctuates based on your mood. But humility, regardless of what may come your way, should not change. It should be a constant thing. And so, understanding that, okay, regardless of what other people may say about me or how I may see myself or feel about myself, I should still remain humble. So,
and I think you said something which I wanted to touch on, and although it's very true, you said self-esteem is something that fluctuates based on your mood, and that is very true. Which is why I think when the Bible teaches, and it's also healthy to not root your identity a lot of times on your own strength, but to root it in someone else, which is God, because God's view or perspective of you never changes, right? Even he said that while we were yet sinners, he loved us. So if he could have loved us while we were yet sinners, how much more would he love us when we're sons of God and daughters of God? But for us, the problem is we're human beings, we're emotional beings. Rightfully, like you said, there are days where I wake up and I'm like, man, I'm the best thing ever in this world.
I'm a star.
And then there are days that I wake up and I'm like bro, you suck. Like, no, like literally. And,
real life.
And I guess it's in those times, I guess on both ends, in order to not be prideful, you have to also remember that, okay, well, yes, you are the best thing that ever happened because God said you are wonderfully and beautifully made. But still, you have to embody humility. On the other end is, well, you feel like you suck maybe because you are not keeping your promises, the promises you've made to yourself, or you are not where you want to be. But still, this is how God sees you, and you have to recognize that. Well, you still have to strive and continue to fight to get to.
And
where
God's
you want.
timing is different from yours.
From your timing, and so I think even with talking about self-esteem, yes, it's good to keep those promises to yourself, but there will be times where you need a backbone or something stronger. You need to root your identity in something deeper than you, which I think rooting your identity in how God views you and what God has said about you, that you're wonderfully made, is very vital, when it comes to having good self-esteem.
Yeah, very, very, very true. Wow. Like you just said everything at this point.
Me? Nah. But I really, the one thing I also wanted to talk about is because even when the Bible talks about humility, it talks about it, I guess in two ways. So it talks about humility towards God, and it talks about humility towards your fellow human beings, brothers, sisters, whatever. And because when I was reading yesterday, I was like, what is humility? Because I was like,
don't check Google.
I was like, I don't even know what we're talking about tomorrow. And no, I think this was Thursday. Not because Thursday I had time to think because yesterday was busy.
I saw the day we were editing the doc. The
notes. Really? Okay, exactly. So that was on Thursday.
Like, so I was really thinking about it.
Yeah, that was on Thursday when I was editing the notes, because we have a shared notes on topics we want to talk about. But I was like, what is humility? I was like, man, this is going to be a tough one. But so I was reading and I saw that, in the Bible it talks about how God loves the humble, but he detests the prideful. And also it talks about when Paul was teaching, it was like, be humble towards one another. Don't think that highly of yourself, or think that you're better than your fellow brother or your sister. And the way the Bible describes humility towards God is total submission. Because I think when the Bible is talking about, God detests the prideful and all those kind of things, it's talking about those people who believe that they don't need God, that they could be their own God. And I think when we talk about humility towards God, we have to also talk about submission. And so humility towards God, I believe, is total submission towards him, recognizing that he's the one that gave us everything that we have, even down to our breath. And the funny thing about pride to me is that I feel like behind pride is ignorance. Because, for example, most of the times the reason people may be prideful is because they either have money, they're beautiful, they're handsome, or they have something, they have a skill, they have something in their position tangible that makes them feel like they are better than someone, or they are more worthy to be human beings than another person. And the funny thing is, in that pride is a sense of ignorance, because it's like you think that all you have or all you are is because of yourself. Rightfully so, you worked hard. Yes, there are principles in life. If you work hard, you'll be successful. But the Bible still says that it is God who allows the sun to shine on the wicked and the righteous. And so not even recognizing that God has a part to play in that, to me, is very ignorant, because the truth is, even down to the breath that you breathe, it is because God deemed it so. So I feel like really when you're in this state or mindset of pride, is just because you are ignorant towards the fact that your life doesn't even, you can't give yourself breath, right? And it's funny to me.
And pride was the first I guess I don't know if I'm right, but for sin technically, you know, because they're like, oh, if you eat it, you won't die. You'll be like God. And so I think because that started the ricochet of what we have in the world today, I think it's still a deep rooted thing that many people suffer with. And I think also, like, it can turn into, you don't even know that you're being prideful, but you are being prideful. And you might think it's like humility, but in real life, it's more of a pride response. It's, for example, it's like, oh, you know, I come to church all the time, and there's people who don't come to church. So I'm super, like, God must love me more because, and you might be like, oh, I'm being humble, you know, like, of course, like, I'm serving God. Like, how can that possibly be prideful? But it is pride because you're seeing yourself higher than other people just because of something that you're doing. It doesn't make you a better Christian just because you come to church or you pray more than them or whatever it may be. And so it's always important to, like, check your heart behind what you're doing. Or even, like, people who, like, you know, feed the homeless but film it every time, like, oh, look, I fed this person.
Why,
you know,
why you
and they're like, I'm so humble, I'm helping the needy. But it's like, if you didn't get one like on your post, you probably would have deleted it. Or if people didn't respond well to it, you probably would have been like, maybe I shouldn't go out and do this again. So that, you know, is a false sense of humility.
And it's funny because, I mean, it's weird. Well, I don't want to say it's weird, but it's hard because sometimes some people do that to create awareness. But sometimes I was like, did you really have to?
Yeah, and that's why I said it's your heart.
Yeah.
Where's your heart posture? I'm not saying it's bad to film it, but where's your heart, you know? Or people who create those, like, experiments, social experiments, and it's like, oh, I fed this homeless person, and that's your best friend. Like, it's not really a real home, just so that you can, you know, look like you're doing something good for the community, and it's not true. Real. You know?
I guess for me, I love the word of Jesus when he says, you know, if you whenever you give, like, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Exactly. So I guess for me, is if I'm giving someone something or helping someone, it's like I don't even act like I'm.
Check your motives.
Check your motive. But I mean, even with the issue of pride that you said, and it being one of the reasons for the fall in the garden, I think that's rightfully so, because in it was like Adam, despite the instruction that, you know, God gave Adam and Eve, they thought to themselves that, well, I mean, if we could disobey God, because that's what they were doing, we could become our own gods. So in it, in a sense, there was this sense of pride, because if they realized that everything about them, their whole entire being was dependent on God, I feel like they wouldn't have, you know, maybe eaten of the fruit. And I can say that because even sometimes in my life, right, we say we're Christians and all, it's like there are times where, you know, I'm prideful because if I wasn't that prideful, I'll read my Bible more. I would work on my relationship with God more if I do realize, but if I always realize and I'm intentional about understanding that my very being is dependent on God. Like, the only reason I'm alive, the only reason I'm well, the only reason things are going is because God deemed it so. And, you know, I don't think having that, well, I'm not saying this, you know, to have the perspective of, oh, just be fearful of God, that, oh, you know, if you don't do this, then God is going to punish you on his rod. Nah, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that the pride is in the fact that, well, I feel like my knowledge could sustain me more than actually going to God and be like, hey, God, what do you want me to do, you know, in this scenario? If I feel like my knowledge is enough, my skill is enough, which is why maybe sometimes instead of praying and say, hey, God, go with me here, it's like, well, I mean, this is something I already. And the thing is, I feel like it's when you become very good at something that you tend to be like, well, I mean, I've done this like 500,000 times.
Which is that self-esteem thing.
Exactly. It's like, okay, you are really good at that thing. It's possible that you are, in fact, the best at it. But I think even as Christians, still recognizing that even being the best at something is still dependent on the fact that God allows that God allows it to be so.
And there's still room for improvement.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people think they don't even need to improve. So there's the issue. And then when you were talking, I think also the problem starts when you stop communion with God. So like you can't commune with the devil and God at the same time. And so with Adam and Eve, she decided to take that moment to talk to the devil. And in that moment, God can't speak to you when you are conversing with the devil.
Yeah.
And so if you don't continuously be mindful of what thoughts you're allowing, what, you know, information that you're allowing to your heart, eventually you're filled up with is lies from the enemy, and you don't have any truth left because you're like, oh, I am this great person. Yeah, I get all this praise from people. Yeah, I do know all these things. Like, why do I need to pray about this? Like, I'm just gonna go do it and ask God to bless it. And you could be asking God to bless something that the devil gave you and you don't even know it. And so that's why humility is so important, to not think that you know anything, no matter how big, you know, you've reached. Always go back to God and be like, God, even if I've come to you multiple times about this situation, I'm still coming to you because this is a new, you know, avenue of it, or this is a new day. You know, I still need your help. I still need your guidance, because you never know. God could be like, no, I usually say yes to the situation, but today I'm saying no. And you don't know why, but you have to trust him, and that's what humility looks like. So
yeah, that's true. I guess so. Even to move forward, because I mean, we've been talking about pride. And
the other side, little
low self. Because I'm trying. Because I honestly don't even like.
You're like, we can't relate.
No. I'm trying to think of the conversation. You know, the tightrope between low self-esteem and humility.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to tie together is, okay.
Yes.
Some people may appear to be humble.
Yes.
But the thing is, what is happening is they actually do have low self-esteem of themselves.
Yeah.
And so then, it feels like, okay, they are not really out there saying, oh, I'm the best. Or, you know, oh, I'm so great at this thing. So is the reason, are they not doing that because they're humble, or because they have low self-esteem? I don't even believe that they're not good at it.
I would even argue that low self-esteem on some level is still pride.
Yes.
Because you think that God can't fix that situation.
Okay.
And so you don't even give it to him. And so in a way, it's like, okay, God, like, I'm still going to handle it on my own. I'm depressed. I'm not feeling good about myself, but I'm not going to pray about it. I'm not going to, you know, seek God's word about it. I'm just going to continue to sit in my self-pity.
Yeah.
Then that's still a form of pride, because you still are thinking only of yourself, and you're not looking to a greater power to help you in that situation. So I think on either side, it's still kind of a form of pride. I think the issue with the low self-esteem and why some people may find it difficult to get over it as quickly as pride, because pride is pretty easy to like pick up and see, like, oh, this is something I need to work on. With low self-esteem, it's like you could be, you know, doing all the right things, everything's progressing, but your mind is tricking you to believe that you're still not good enough, that you haven't reached your potential, that there's still so much more that you can do, which in a godly mindset, that's true. Like, there's still so much you can do. You still haven't reached your potential, because we never are going to get there, right, with God, but like we strive to reach that every day. But it's like more of, I'm going to quit because I feel like I can't reach it. Instead, we know that, okay, every day I'm going to strive for perfection, but it doesn't mean like, oh, automatically tomorrow I'm going to be perfect because I'm not God. But that doesn't mean I don't stop, you know, praying and seeking God and shedding off the things that don't look like him and don't please him. But somebody who has low self-esteem, they're like, you know what, if the bar is here and I can't even get there, then I'm not even going to try at all. And so I think it's important for people who have that kind of mindset to see that every day is a new day for you to keep trying. Don't stop just because one day doesn't look like what God has promised you. You know, so. Yeah,
that's very true. And you said something, and it's funny because I had it in my notes too. You said, you know, that in a way, well, what I had in my notes is sometimes, let me just check it.
You got the notes.
But I said pride sometimes could be disguised as low self-esteem. And you said that, you know, even because this is not even to bash someone who has low self-esteem or whatever, right? But in a way, because I was listening to, I think there was a conference, and how it was a women's conference, by the way, I wasn't listening to the conference, but I saw a snippet of it on my Instagram because I follow the person who was hosting the conference, right? I mean, there's knowledge in women's conference too.
You know a lot of women in
exactly.
Your life, so.
And so the lady was talking about
yeah.
I guess the question was also centered around self-esteem and how, as Black women specifically, you know, to view themselves even in a world that tells them that they are not beautiful or they are not being cared for and all those kind of things. And after the lady, I guess, affirmed her, saying, you know, you're wonderful and you're beautifully made because God said those things, right? She also said, which I think is very true, is that, you know, sometimes even self-esteem is a sense of pride because it means that you think that your opinion of you is better than God's opinion of you. And so even the self-esteem is also not really, I guess, a self-esteem issue. It's a self-love issue. Is that you love yourself so much. Like in the Bible, it says that in the end times, men shall become lovers of self. Like you love yourself so much to the point that you don't even care about what God says about you because that doesn't even matter to you. Because the only thing that matters to you is what you say about yourself. And I think it's very tricky, but I think in it is there's that thin line of, well, it really could be that I'm just so self-conceited, or I just think of myself too highly. Not to say that, you know, don't think about yourself, don't think well of yourself, but it's like I'm just so selfish to the point that, you know, only my thoughts, only my opinion of myself matters, and God's opinion of what God has said about me doesn't even matter. And I think that's where the sense of pride, the way pride can be hidden under low self-esteem, that's where it can be hidden under low self-esteem. It's like, okay, well, God's opinion doesn't really matter because you know, only
this
my
is what I
this is what I believe about myself, rather than what God has said, that okay, well, I made you beautifully, I made you beautiful, I made you wonderful. You know.
And the other thing I thought of too, if I'll remember, it was really good too. But you were saying a lot of great points, and then it made me think of something. The more I talk about it, the more I forget. But let's just talk about something I'll just randomly remember.
Okay, it's okay. But I think, I mean, even
people's opinions of you. Sorry, I just
go ahead.
People's opinions of you. Do you think that also plays a factor?
Yeah, it does. It does. I won't lie.
Like criticism and.
Yeah, I mean, it does. But I think is when you have a healthy relationship. So I guess all of this even stems from, first off, having a healthy relationship with yourself and with God. I mean, because we're Christians and we're speaking from a Christian perspective, having a healthy relationship with yourself automatically involves automatically involves God in a way, right? Okay, because we're Christians, right? So once there's that basis or foundation of, okay, you have a healthy relationship with God, you have a healthy relationship with yourself, then we now talk about, okay, people's opinions of you and taking criticism. Okay, where's the borderline between constructive criticism and just people bashing you? So I feel like it is when you have a healthy relationship with yourself, and you do, because having a healthy relationship with yourself involves recognizing your strengths and recognizing your weaknesses. And so if somebody points out to your weakness in a loving way, right, through constructive criticism, you could sit back and be like, yeah, well, this person is actually correct, because I know that this is a weakness that I'm working on, right? But then on the flip side, if somebody recognizes or calls out that weakness in a way to, I guess, make you feel bad or make you feel worthless or to demean you, then it's like, well, you revert back to, okay, well, I do recognize that that's a weakness I'm working on. And you see me as this weak person in that area, right? That's what it is right now. But I recognize that it's something I'm working on. It's something that God is working on in me. So your opinion, I'm speaking from my how I process things. So really, at that point for me, it's like your opinion doesn't even matter. Because it's God's opinion that matters. It's like, okay, well, God, I know we're working on this thing. Yes, I may fail sometimes, I may fall sometimes, but I still revert back to what your word has said, that, you know, keep fighting, keep striving, keep pushing. Like, it is not something that you attain in a day. We are made perfect in Christ. We are not just born perfect in Christ. And so being made involves forming, right? Forming something, taking it out, you walk 10 miles, you walk back 20 miles, and then you walk back. So it's a process of, continuous, change and just working towards that perfection.
Right.
And so I think for me, if I'll speak from my perspective, is okay, yes, sometimes other people's opinions of you may matter, but I've gotten to a point where I know God. I don't want to say I know God too much because I can't know him all, but I know what God has said about me.
Yes.
I know myself, right? I have a healthy relationship with myself.
Right.
I talk to myself, not in a crazy way, but it's like, I check myself. I know, okay, these are the things you need to work on. So really, even when you point out my weakness, it's not something that I don't already recognize.
New, right.
It's not something that's new that it's like, oh, I didn't know I was this person. It's like, it's like
jump scare.
Exactly. It's like, well, I did recognize that, and sometimes it could even be God. It could be a reminder that this is still something you need to work on. So, I guess for me, I don't want to say I don't really care about what people like. I don't really care. To be honest, it's an added knowledge. It's like a confirmation. Let's say like God gave you a word and then you hear it again from someone. Like, okay, this is now God confirming what He's already said. Yeah, and I think that's also important. Like, don't just take everything people say and just run with it. Like, if somebody, even if somebody praising you, still go back to God and be like, okay, God, this person gave me this, compliment. In this, how can I still be better? Because if you sit with that compliment, you're like, wow, I really am that good. Like, it then turns into pride, and you're like, but I didn't even think of this of myself to begin with. It's somebody else that brought it in. And so I think it's also important, even for us with other people, is like, don't overly flatter people and then don't overly bash people. Like, have that balance. Like, know when to put the limit. Like, okay, this person's head's getting big. Let me be humble.
Let me calm down. Sit down.
Sit down. But I guess to wrap up, if you were to, I hope I'm not throwing you under the bus, but if you were to, I guess, to tie everything together, right? If you were to define or just what is humility? What is true humility?
One sentence summary of what we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, just what would you say is humility? Not on the other side of the spectrum where it's pride, or on the other side of the spectrum where it's low self-esteem. Where's the balance? Where's the middle ground?
Okay, I'll steal a quote that I heard. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. Okay. It's thinking of yourself less. So it's not thinking that, oh, I'm not good enough. It's just not thinking like, wow, I'm always good. So that's what I would say humility is. Yeah. That's beautiful. And I think to wrap up, I'll just add to that and say, what's self-esteem? What self-esteem? I don't know. I mean, it's okay to, you see. Okay, now I threw you under the bus. That's humility, saying that I don't know. But no, but I feel like in a sense that's humility, because pride will try to make up something, but I honestly, I mean, I know if I think maybe I would, but okay, I have a follow-up. Yeah. Do you think self-esteem is toxic? Is a toxic mindset? No, it's not. Okay. It's a healthy thing to have. Okay. Right? And I think we'll talk about it, right? But it's a healthy thing. Like, you need, even God needs you to have good self-esteem. Like, you can't be neutral. Yeah, God needs you to have a healthy self-esteem of yourself, which is why He said so much about you. Yeah. So that way, in those moments where you feel like, oh man, I'm worth this. Well, then is self-esteem the same as confidence? Yeah, I believe so. Having a healthy self-esteem is the same as being confident in yourself. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But now the borderline is now, okay, pride is like the borderline between I guess, okay, in English terms, pride would be the extreme end of confidence, and then being conceited will be the extreme end of self-esteem, of having good self-esteem. Because if you are conceited, it's like, okay, it's just about me and I'm the most important person in the world. Is it conceited or content? I think it's conceited. Is it conceited thinking like? Yeah, having a conceited view of yourself is, English is hard. I'm being humble. I don't know it all. Let's see, conceited. Conceited is. I thought we were trying to wrap up. Yeah, having or showing an excessively high opinion of oneself. Conceited. Excessively though? Yeah. Isn't that prideful? That's why I say content. No, content is being. You're okay with what you have. Yeah, but then conceited is kind of like excessive of content. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is the extreme end of self-esteem. Oh, okay.
It's like having a healthy self-esteem is I know that I'm good at this or whatever, but then when you're conceited, it's like, okay, this is very excessive. It's like, okay, I'm just the best thing.
Okay.
I'm the best thing after sliced bread, and
that was funny. That's
you never heard that before?
I feel like you just aged us, but it's okay.
But anyways, to wrap up, so we don't waste time. Yeah. I think for me, humility, if I were to sum up everything, is true humility is in service.
Yes.
Is in service to God and is in service.
We should have talked about that one, but that's true.
Is in service to God and is in service to your fellow human beings.
Yes.
And
with a humble heart.
Yeah, exactly, with a humble heart.
Yeah.
And I would just say what Jesus said. He said when he was talking to his disciples when they were saying, "Oh, who's going to be the greatest?" Yeah. He said,
that's a good.
That whoever wants to be the first has to be the last. Yeah. And has to be the last through serving everyone. And then he brought a child. He said, well,
childlike faith.
Yeah, if you could have this childlike faith. And so I think true humility is in service towards other people. Yes. That's what I would say. Yes. So, yeah.
That was good. That was really good.
All right. It's been a wonderful time.
Yes.
How are we celebrating today? Are we eating?
I did some self-care. We'll be talking. That's a what? That's a teaser for our next episode.
Self-care.
Self-care. Versus, we'll let you find out on the next episode.
All right.
Yeah. Alrighty, Toby, you gonna close this out?
Yes. Thank you once again for working with us on another episode of SOTÉ Podcast.
And remember, God is your rock.
Yeah, God is your rock. Remember that. And everybody, please wish on you a happy birthday.
Thank you. Even though it's like a few weeks late, but I appreciate it still.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Stay tuned to SOTÉ. All right.
In a world that is filled with filters and masks, we want to give you an unfiltered experience. Welcome to SOTÉ.
Yes, Salt of the Earth podcast, a Christian podcast where we teach you how to apply the Word of God with wisdom into your everyday lives. If you're ready to take off the filters and learn how to be the salt of the earth, stay tuned to SOTÉ.